Howdy y'all, this is Taylor Ursula of That's So Pisces, and it's time to explore this Sagittarius first quarter moon. Now, apologies for the delay on this, but summer has been having its way with me. So, as you can hear, everything is just really sounding really good. Okay, this is a first quarter moon taking place at 19 degrees of Sagittarius at about 11 p.m. here on the West Coast. So the moon has only a few conversations here while moving through Sagittarius. Everyone is kind of hanging out on like the fixed axis. We've got some planets hanging out on the cardinal axis. We do have, of course, the sun and Jupiter, who's ruling this Sagittarius moon, hanging out on the mutable axis, as well as Saturn. We also have Mercury finally back home in Virgo at this first quarter moon. Mercury ruling the sun in Virgo, and the moon's first stop in its time in Sagittarius is making a square to this Mercury. Maybe we have a lot of thoughts, feelings, things we're ready to say, things that are finally starting to make sense. The moon has a cute sextile moment with Venus also at home in Libra at about 15 degrees. So there's a little bit of getting things done, connecting the dots, hearing some good news, or otherwise just some pleasantries afoot. But then the moon squares Saturn, retrograde in Pisces, and perhaps there's a hard stop. Perhaps we are able to make some progress with the sextile to Venus, and yet we then must take a beat, pause. It's like we're not going to get everything done right now. We find the limit. The moon squares the sun at 11 p.m. at 19 degrees, and we feel some sense of pressure. We assess what kind of progress we're making toward the goals that we set out to accomplish at that Virgo new moon last week. Is that square to Saturn enough to stop us in our tracks? Are we able to still feel like we got something done even as we were sort of paused by Saturn? Early in the morning here on the West Coast, late in the evening for the rest of you, we see the moon make an opposition to its ruler, Jupiter, in Gemini. So maybe there's a feeling of kind of either or. I can kind of go with the narrative, maybe believe that I'm making progress, or I can check the receipts and like keep making lists of what needs to be done. The moon on Wednesday makes a trine to Chiron, retrograde in Aries at 22 degrees, and perhaps this helps us remember where we've come from and use that as an assessment of what progress we're making in the moment. Maybe we've been on kind of a small Virgo scope, right, in terms of am I where I need to be? And for Virgo, the answer is never yes. But perhaps with this kind of broader scope and Chiron, our origin wound, in the fold, maybe we're able to actually kind of look back at where we were long ago, and perhaps we can kind of buy into the narrative that even if the progress in this moment isn't what we expect of ourselves right now, we've still made a lot of progress in the grand scheme of things. Now, before the moon's final aspect, we have Mercury officially clearing its retrograde shadow. This will certainly help us kind of put in the work to make our way to those goals that we will never really feel like we're accomplishing in Virgo land. This is particularly interesting since the next lunar phase will be the full moon eclipse in Pisces, and that's going to be ruled by Jupiter, who's in Gemini, who's being ruled by Mercury, now at home in Virgo. But the fact that Mercury is clearing this shadow certainly infuses us with a bit more trust in the process of how we're getting to where we're trying to go. You see the moon's final aspect as a square to Neptune retrograde in Pisces. Okay. So everything this season, right? We talked about this in the Virgo season forecast. Everything this season has to pass through the impossible gates of Neptune. And this is good, this is bad, this is stressful, this is delusional, this is promising us nothing. And this is revealing to us nothing. If anything, it's confounding us. It's challenging us to believe in something beyond the idea or expectation of perfection. Okay, let's go ahead and do a quick recap of our Virgo new moon pull. We will then pull cards for this Sagittarius first quarter moon. Okay, here is our recap from our Virgo new moon. We had some big themes showing up here with these majors and our card for the year and our card for the season. So if you missed this, take a beat, reroute back to that Virgo new moon pull and meet us back here. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. As we explore this first quarter moon, we are asking about energy that is accumulating now, as well as doubts and complications that arise with this energy. We are looking at gifts that we can access through this energy and lessons to make sense of as we approach the full moon. Maybe that feels particularly relevant here at this Sagittarius first quarter moon. Sagittarius is about creating meaning, is about identifying stories and how and figuring out how we connect with them. How do we fold stories into the fabric of our lives, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look here. We'll look at the bottom of the deck as always to see what other stories are prominent at this time as the light is waxing and bringing us toward our Pisces eclipse. Okay, we have the Ace of Cups reversed. All right. And maybe that is part of the Pisces full moon eclipse that we're building up to. When this is upright, we're kind of opening up to new emotional experiences. Maybe we're returning to something that's been on the back burner that wanted to initiate but didn't really have the space, the right conditions, the timing to be fully explored. And maybe that is something we see in the reversal. Maybe we are kind of taking a moment to look inward about what kind of emotional experiences we do want to open up to, okay? Maybe that's some of what the square to Saturn is about. Maybe we're ramping up towards something, but we are trying to get clear on what's worth our investment, okay? I mean, I've been using that word a lot recently to describe, I've been talking about divestments, really. Since I think that like Capricorn, that first Capricorn full moon, we were talking about divesting from things that weren't really for us anymore, or recognizing that happily ever after had kind of reached its threshold. Like there's only so much that we can share before we realize that it's time to part ways, or that, what we want to share is different, has changed. So perhaps Saturn is kind of bringing us this question of like, what do I want new feelings and emotions to be like? To figure that out, we do turn inward. Maybe we are taking some time to feel really good about ourselves, right? Maybe we're not yet extending that outward, but we are considering like, who feels good to me? What feels good to me? What feelings do I want to pay attention to? What feelings do I want to bring to the surface? Okay, we're going to find out some more about this Ace of Cups reversed as we explore these cards. Energy that is accumulating now. Well, that's really freaking cute. This came up for us Capricorns in the Virgo season reading. We explored the star as validation that we needed from ourselves at this time. Okay, so I I mean, the Star is one of the best cards, you know. Not that any one of them is better, but Star is pretty freaking great, okay? I mean, the Star tells us that we're tapping into hope. The Star tells us that we are discovering ourselves after the Tower. Uranus stationing retrograde at that Virgo new moon may have been disruptive to many of us in many ways, right? There may have been a lot that was sort of like a rug pulled out from under us, or a surprise that really caught us off guard. So we are now moving forward from that energy, and we're figuring out what hope we can accumulate at this time for what's coming next. Doubts and complications that arise with this energy. Will we have the tools? Wow, we're gonna just have a lot of majors this season, I guess, for like this whole lunation cycle. Okay, will we have the tools? Is my timing right? What am I gonna use these tools for? What am I making? Okay, like we're walking into an eclipse next week. Do we know? Like the whole point of the eclipse is that we don't know what's coming. We don't know what we're gonna be building. We don't know what's gonna land in the Pisces part of our chart. Is the timing good? Like, I don't know. Like the timing is gonna be the timing, right? But it certainly challenges us as mere mortals to get a grip of like, am I doing this right? Is there a way for me to do this right? Gifts we can access through this energy. I knew this was going to show up. This was at the bottom of the deck for us at the Virgo new moon, if you recall. So, gifts that we can access, walking away. All right. The energy is the Star. We are powerful. We are hopeful. We are free of unnecessary baggage. Again, thanks to the Tower, right? The Tower took away whatever we didn't need. And that is true about Uranus. Uranus can be shocking, startling, surprising, but it does strip us of what is false, okay? So the gift now is walking away. Maybe we were thinking about this at the Virgo new moon. Maybe this was beginning to surface for us at the Virgo new moon. This is now palpable, potent, within our grasp. We can do this leaving now, okay? Lessons to make sense of as we approach the full moon. We're done fighting. We're done fighting. An eclipse is no time to like fight, right? Again, it's coming in. We can't tell what it is. Let's put our they're not swords, so I shouldn't say let's put our swords down. Let's put our wands down. Let's put our batons away. Let's not stir the pot in this moment, right? I'm not saying there's not a fight to be had somewhere, but in the narrative here that we're exploring, lessons to make sense of. Where does it make sense for me to stop fighting for something that is not worth it? Let's add that modifier. Where does it make sense for me to kind of look inward about what fighting means? What am I fighting for? Let me get clear on that. Maybe similar to this Ace of Cups. What do I want to feel? What do I want to fight for? But we're turning that inward, all right? We are not coming out here baton swinging with this fire, all right? We're not doing that right now. We will do that at some future point, okay? The fives will always be waiting for us. But in this moment, we can get a sense of, what am I conserving my energy for, maybe? Like, if there is something to fight for down the line, then what do I stop fighting for in this moment and allow this walking away to occur, so that when whatever enters next week at the full moon eclipse, whenever that enters, then I'll know more about how to use this function more properly. All right, y'all, this is some potent stuff. I'm very excited to see where we land with that Pisces full moon eclipse. So if you enjoyed this, please give this video a like. Please share with someone who's tapping into some hope right now and is ready to walk away from something that's no longer serving them. And subscribe so we can talk about that Pisces full moon next week. I'll see you then.